So, our theme today is Women's Buddhist Journeys, Leadership, Liberation and Celebration, which I think is quite a lovely way of summarising what you can expect today. And I just wanted to say a few personal words about International Women's Day. Now, I was very lucky. I went to a feminist progressive high school. So, ever since I was about 12 years old, we used to celebrate International Women's Day quite robustly. And we did wear purple every year. And we went out to marches and we celebrated women who had gone before us. So, it's very much in my DNA. And sense of being in the world. So when it comes round, it brings back lots of beautiful memories of being with some very inspiring female teachers as I grew up. And then also being part of a broader social movement that recognises the achievements and I suppose, the path that women have offered us in going forward, and the fact that we as women can follow that path. So they've really cleared the way in many, many different ways. And so the reason why we arranged this panel, partly, is because it's fun and it's wonderful, but also because each of the teachers here today have personally touched me on a deep level. So as Subhana mentioned, Subhana was a guiding teacher when I did my Dharma teacher training and has been an inspiration to me over many years. I have next to me Venerable Juefang, who works with me. She's a colleague, and she also is involved in education, Buddhist education, in propagating Buddhist education, in supporting students in Buddhist education and supporting research. So I've been very inspired and touched by her work. And then I saw and met Ayya Upekkha for the first time at the Metta Convention last year. And I was very moved by your presentation, Ayya. And your spirit, really. It was very touching to me. And so just understanding your role as a full bhikkhuni and your role at Santi Forest Monastery, which supports bhikkhunis in the early Buddhist Theravadan tradition, was very moving to me. So personally, you've all affected me on a deep level. So I'm absolutely delighted to bring you all together today. So I'm going to start with the bios of each of the presenters, and then we'll move on to just ask the presenters to say a little something about their own journey, and then we'll ask some questions, and there'll be an opportunity for the floor to ask the speakers questions as well. So I'd like to start with Venerable Juefang, who's next to me. She's the Director of International Relations at the Nan Tien Institute, which is where we're meeting today, and the General Manager of the Xingyun Education Foundation. She's taught Buddhist communities face-to-face and online for over 20 years in London, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, China, Singapore and Malaysia. She developed the 4,000 square metre Beijing Cultural and Educational Centre and started the Master Xingyun Cultural and Educational Foundation in China. Her engagement with volunteers in Australia and internationally include the Be Kind, Be Vejo campaign and many other such campaigns. She completed her MA in Sociology from Fo-Guan University in Taiwan. Next, I'd like to welcome Venerable Ayya Upekkha, who was born in Sri Lanka in 1974. She grew up in various parts of the world before her family settled down in Perth, Australia. She quit her job at 23 in the finance industry in Singapore to go seeking for the truth in India, and her journey took her through marriage and long retreats in Malaysia and Myanmar with her then husband, who later ordained as a monk, before they finally, at the age of 35, returned to Perth, and her spiritual journey started there. She joined a monastery and under the auspices of Ajahn Brahm in 2009 and has been part of that community since then. She ordained in 2011 and took bhikkhuni ordination in 2014. Welcome. And lastly, I'd like to welcome Subhana Barghazi Roshi, who's been a Buddhist practitioner for 50 years and authorised to teach in 2 different Buddhist traditions, Zen and insight meditation. The Dharma has been her guiding light and backbone of life. She's a Zen Roshi in the Diamond Sangha and resident teacher of the Sydney Zen Centre and a guiding teacher of the Melbourne Zen Group. Subhana is an insight meditation teacher, founder of Kuan Yin Meditation Centre in Lismore and Blue Gum Sangha in Sydney. She teaches intensive 7-day insight retreats and Zen sessions throughout Australia. Subhana trained and practiced as a psychotherapist for 30 years and has recently retired and is enjoying that space. She's the founding director of the Insight Meditation Institute and a trainer for the 2-year Mindfulness and Compassion teacher training courses, as well as the 4-year Dharma teacher training course. So welcome to you, Subhana.
Thank you, Nadine.
Okay, so I would like to offer the floor to you first, Venerable. So you just have a few moments to reflect on any significant moments in your Buddhist journey as a woman and also as a leader in Buddhism in Australia.
Thank you, Nadine, and good afternoon to everyone. So, this is actually a very interesting question because I started to reflect upon my own journey. I went to the Buddhist college in Fo-Guang-Shan under Venerable Master Xing Yun in the year 2001, which is 25 years ago. So it's a quarter of a century and time flies. And I had my ordination actually in the Nan Tien Temple in the year 2004, which is 21 years ago as well. So time has passed and there were very significant journeys. For example, when in the ordination, because we are actually part of the humanistic Buddhism tradition, the Mahayana Chinese tradition. So the process, the ceremony itself was actually a Mahayana Chinese, the retreats, the rituals. But there was actually one very significant part where it was a triple platform ordination. So it was like the first part, we finished it, then we go to the second, then the third. So it was from a novice precepts to the bhikkhuni precepts and then to the bodhisattva precepts. But as that went through, what was the difference? It's like the type of precepts is different, the things that we learn, the things that we have to do. But at the end of the triple platform, the bodhisattva precepts, that was where we had actually we used to have, the few dots on our heads that people always ask about, like, how was it done? It was actually part of our vows to practice the bodhisattva way. So it's the offering of ourselves to the Buddhas, to all sentient beings, that I will lead this path, my commitment, and I will offer myself in service of all. That's why we had all the marks on the head. So a lot of people will ask us, is it painful? Is it painful? Because it's literally burnt in with the incense. After so many years, I don't really remember whether it was painful or not. But to be honest, it should be painful. But the pain or the process that we went through, it's not so important anymore. The so-called pain. It's a physical feeling, it's over. But the last 25 years, it is not always sweet, right? There were ups and downs, there were some difficulties. Maybe there was some pain along the way. But regardless of this, after all these years, I would say that the practice of this monastic path, it is not always easygoing. There are ups and downs, but whether it's up or down, it is a gradual up. And that is natural, and that is what should be expected. So after these years, I would realize that we hope that our path will be free from troubles and worries. This is part of liberation. But liberation doesn't come with no challenges. Liberation perhaps comes with our ability to overcome these challenges, or at least we are not as challenged by these challenges. So this is my reflections.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Ayya, we'd like to move to you now.
Okay. Well, I was also reflecting on your question when you sent it to me. And, my own personal journey into monastic life was very straightforward, relatively straightforward. But, I think it's because of all the people who have gone before me that it is possible for a female to ordain in the Theravada tradition, be fully ordained in the Theravada tradition. Really, I was thinking my journey really is a milestone of the wishes of women for 1,000 years to be able to fully live the monastic life. I remember when I was little, actually, this female form of being fully ordained in a forest tradition just absolutely did not even exist. It didn't even occur to the people around me that you could ordain as a nun. Yeah, I remember my mom who is here somewhere in the audience. My aunts, my grandmother, my great grandmother, they were all pious women, and their only possibility for fulfilling this spiritual urge that we feel was there was none. They could go to the temple, they could, light incense, chant, learn a bit of meditation, offer dana to the monks. That was the extent of what a woman could do if they wanted to find what, follow a spiritual trajectory. There was none. Get married and have children was the only career path open to them, really. So I would say so many women since then and monks have put in the causes and conditions in place and fought with all their hearts for there to be an opportunity for women to be fully ordained in this tradition. I don't know if people here know the story. There's Roy there in the background, but it was only in 2009 there was the first time women were ordained fully in the Theravada tradition in Australia and in the West, you could say, resulted in Ajahn Brahm, our spiritual director, being excommunicated. That's how dramatic it was. And that's how unacceptable it was. So just the fact that I exist, I think, is a testimony to the journey of Theravada Buddhist women. And I just walked in. I didn't have to fight. And I've been ordained, just, walked into a bhikkhuni monastery, became a fully ordained, yes, it wasn't a fully ordained monastery, became a fully ordained bhikkhuni monastery. And then I have just been fortunate to have a place that supports this monastic form. It's just, I didn't do anything.
It's a very Buddhist response, Ayya. Thank you. Thank you for honoring that. That's beautiful. Okay, Subhana, we'd love to move to you now.
Yes, thank you. That's beautiful. My journey started really when I was 20 years of age, and I'm so grateful and fortunate that I stumbled into Bodh Gaya in 1974, Bodh Gaya in India, the place where the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, and had a profound connection and experience with that. And that's the first Dharma talk that I ever heard from a Buddhist monk in Bodh Gaya, Burmese Buddhist monk, was the Four Noble Truths. And I just wept, and I wept. And something resonated so deeply for me that it started a love affair that spanned now 50 years. And so I'm still here. I'm also very, very grateful for my teachers. I've been blessed to have really good teachers. Christopher Titmuss in the Insight tradition, Aiken Roshi, and John Tarrant in the Zen tradition, and Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. And I was invited to teach, from 1974, I was then invited to teach in the early 90s. And curious enough, I told Nadine this the other day, that I was invited to be a fully authorized Zen Roshi, which is, after many years, 15 years of training, I was invited to be a Zen Roshi on the 9th of March, 1996. Whoa! And International Women's Day. So hence it's a very significant day for me. And not only for me, one of the things that happened from that experience of full authorization and taking the 16 Bodhisattva vows and practices, was that not women certainly came up and congratulated me, but one of the things that a number of things that they said was, it was not only, it was wonderful to be congratulated, but it made a difference. They said it made a difference for them to see a woman step into a teaching, the teaching seat, teaching the Dharma. And I was the first female Zen teacher in the Diamond Sangha, which is an international worldwide network. Luckily, there's many women that have followed since then, but there had only been, of course, Buddhism has largely been travelled through the monastic tradition for 2,500 years, and through that tradition has largely held the foundations of the Dharma, which I'm deeply grateful for. But these women were saying very clearly how they were inspired, and to see a female teacher, a lay teacher, who, I'm a mother of 2 children and I have 2 grandchildren that are now finished university, and I was a partner, a partnership, and I also had a livelihood and career. So to step into the teaching seat, the Dharma, in midst of my very full and challenging and lots of responsibilities, and to make the Dharma the backbone of my life, was inspiring for other women. So I guess I'm really, looking back, I feel so deeply grateful for my teachers, Christopher Titmuss and Aiken Roshi, particularly because they, and John Tarrant, they really, really supported women to step into leadership roles within the lay Sangha, into dojo leadership roles, community leadership roles, and really, really empowered women to sit at an equal platform to also the male teachers there. So I'm grateful for that sense of their paving the way. The causes and conditions that you were speaking about, Ayya, there was a lot of causes and conditions that led up to me being able to step into that seat and be supported. So I'm really, really deeply grateful for my teachers and the both traditions, Insight and Zen, that Aiken Roshi and Christopher Titmuss knew each other very well and were very encouraging. And I remember Aiken Roshi was a man of very few words. And he wrote in one of his books that he wrote, which is a foundational textbook for the Zen tradition, is The Gateless Barrier, The Gateless Gate, The Gateless Barrier, Mumon Khan. He wrote these words, "I have faith in you." And those few words really touched my heart and gave me the confidence to keep stepping into that place, because I thought, well, maybe my teachers have made a mistake. Why me? How can I do this? And so it was their encouragement, their faith in me, and faith that I had in the Dharma, that the Dharma would lead the way. Yeah, I just needed to get out of the way, really.
It's in your problem, isn't it?
It's a continual problem, so there you go. A continual practice, let's say.
Yes,
Yeah.
so opportunity, which really takes me to the first question that I have for each of you. We don't have to go in any particular order, so whoever feels moved to respond, please respond. So the first question really relates to barriers And in Buddhist terms, we might talk about them as unexpected opportunities or lessons. So we're framing them a little bit differently than just barriers that you might have encountered in either your role as a leader in a Buddhist community or as a teacher. So I'd love to hear from each of you and any lessons that have arisen or reflections that have arisen since then.
I'll start. So there was this, I was actually based in China 10 years for 10 years before coming to Australia. So I was there in the year 2005. And at that time, the Venerable Master, who was my teacher, Venerable Master Xing Yun, he visits China quite often at that time. So there was one day when I was crossing the road and I met with a very, very unpolite experience with someone. So in that night, when I met the Venerable Master, I told him that, just now when I was downstairs, I met with something. And to me, I was actually expecting him to say that, don't worry, we will meet with better people, or I was expecting him to comfort me in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But all that he said was just 4 Chinese words, 不足为道. 不足为道, it's like you don't even have to mention it. It's not worth mentioning. I was like, oh, I was so sad. I was a bit hurt, and you're telling me it's not worth mentioning. And he just skipped me and went to the next person. So the next Venerable continued to say something. Then he came back to me after all these conversations and he said that, that experience is actually so trivial, so minor. If that is your barrier, then you will have all barriers in front of you. From that time onwards, to me, it's like anything that happens, the not so positive things that happen, I just keep my mouth shut because that is so trivial. It's not worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
So from that experience onwards, it tells me that there are so many difficult moments, but the intensity of the challenge sometimes is actually how we see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your relationship to it and how you're thinking about it and relating to it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that's a lesson that you've internalized.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely story. Thank you. Yeah.
I can go next. When you asked this question, I was like, who you're asking me, leader, teacher? Why am I being asked this question? As this order is so young of women in the Theravada, fully ordained women in the Theravada tradition. We've just been thrown into it, we haven't, unlike in Taiwan, have a big institution behind us and monks, as monks do, have, teachers upon teachers that have helped them to have a structure around their training. So like a couple of years ago, I just found myself in the UK with a friend of mine, helping to start a Bhikkhuni monastery for the first time in the UK, not knowing anything about it. And so we have, I actually don't know where to. We have incredible opportunities, actually. It's like this flower that's just blooming, and there are such a need for female teachers, and so much support here in here in Sydney from Bhante Sujato and the monks community. Yeah, I think, it just takes time. It takes time to grow a nun, to grow someone who doesn't just talk the walk, but walks the talk. Yeah, so I think it's just going to take time in the Theravada tradition to grow teachers and to grow leaders. And in the meanwhile, we're just, stepping up and doing the little bit we know here and there. And being just being who we are. Just being who we are and doing what we do, and other women just follow behind us. So yes, incredible opportunities. I'm not sure where it's going, but we're just making it up as we go along. Yeah.
We see you as leaders.
Wow, yes.
Or even trailblazers.
Yeah. You don't think about it. I live with Venerable Nirodha. I don't know if you know Venerable Nirodha. She was one of the first bhikkhunis who ordained. She was one of the 4 bhikkhunis who ordained in Perth in 2009, and she's been a nun for we calculated 25 years. She doesn't think of herself as a trailblazer, but I do. And you just do, as she says, you just rise up to the occasion and do what needs to be done. I mean, she started 2 monasteries and I don't know, done a million things in her life. And yeah, just, yes, trailblazed. Yeah.
Indeed.
I have, yes, in responding to this question, I had a very difficult encounter and experience, more than once. I experienced in the early days of teaching and as a teacher, Dharma teacher, quite a degree of prejudice and negative judgment, sexism, and cultural sexism, cultural conditioning, really, from a couple of Asian Zen teachers. And it was a real directly negative put down. Like, who are you to kind of teach the Dharma? What kind, they really did ask me some very challenging questions, which I was able to respond to. But behind all of that, there was a lot of negativity and kind of patriarchal, sexist kind of judgments, really. And so my response to that was twofold. It really taught me quite an interesting, it was quite of an interesting practice. I could take it, if I took it personally, I was in reactive mode, and that wasn't going to serve me or that relationship with that teacher. So the way I coped with that was, first of all, I really referred back to the direct experience of Buddha nature is gender-free. It is timeless, it's ageless, it's not culturally bound, it's the unconditioned, the deathless, as the Buddha said. So kind of referring back and embodying that understanding, the ageless, timeless vastness of who we are, I was able to kind of just see that was culturally conditioned kind of behavior and reaction from that particular teacher. And so I didn't take it personally. I could see the causes and conditions of why he thought that, the institutionalized nature, the cultural conditioning, socialization process in all of that. And so that just evoked also from that perspective, I was able to feel compassion for his kind of, in some ways, a narrow view. Yeah, there was a view there, a narrow view, and he wasn't able to see the freedom and the awakening in the feminine body, so to speak, or the being able to teach the Dharma. So, yeah, And speaking to him from that place of freedom and that place of understanding his conditioning, and speaking to him from the place of compassion rather than reactivity actually was interesting. It was a powerful for both of us. He later on, several years later, acknowledged me. It took a few years, mind you, but he acknowledged my role as a teacher. Yeah. So, you know, in some ways there was also another way of coping, was just to ignore it and carry on, you know, just like carry on having deep faith in the Dharma that is timeless and ageless. And so, yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful story. Yeah, I think we can get very positional and like fixed when we are dealing with power and patriarchy, and sometimes that's very necessary. But the kind of fierce compassion that you're referring to, Subhana, can have some real effect for both parties. And so, yeah, what a lovely story. Sounds like there are many similar threads through your stories. You might have already covered this, so you don't all have to have a go, but I was going to ask about what sustains you personally, because, you know, while there are many opportunities and possibilities that you've pointed to, there are also some kind of blocks and roadblocks and issues that you might face in the Dharma, you know, as a woman, but also for other reasons as well. And I'm sure you have to, I suppose, give yourself a bit of a pep talk every now and then to continue on and to move forward. So is there anything you'd like to offer that might sustain you and help others thinking about this?
I think it's faith. So it's faith in our own choice. We were not born as a monastic or born as a Roshi, but we chose to be one. So it was a choice with clear understanding and clear consideration. It's not just like a moment and, you know, got ordained. So faith in the choice, faith in, of course, the Dharma, believing that the Dharma brings liberation, and also the faith in this Buddhist community. So I think the three of us are like in different traditions, actually, in different Buddhist organizations with different culture within the Buddhist organization. So just to be with the organization, there must be some faith in that as well. So, for example, for myself, I belong to Guangshan, which is the Nan Tien Temple's monastic community order, and this is a order that practices humanistic Buddhism and also has a lot of emphasis on service. So that also equals to work, right? It's like nonstop, you know, how do we relate work with practice? The nonstop, so much piling up of work with patience, service, compassion. So all these, the more that we are able to relate and internalize, the better we will be on this path.
Lovely.
Go next. For us in the forest tradition, our bread and butter is meditation, really. And if ever there is if always there are difficulties, it's to go back to looking at our minds, looking at my mind, and you know, we have the Buddhist teaching of investigating my own motivation, my own defilements. What that is blocking me? What is it that's stop me from being free. So fortunately, we have a lot of time in our timetable to go back to our kutis, to go back to our huts, the forest, which we live in a very beautiful forest, be able to young, as Ajahn Brahm says, to dig in the dirt and use it to understand the mind and how it's how we cause ourselves suffering. So I guess it's where our lifestyle is built to have a lot of time to ourselves and to have a lot of time to meditate. So I really that.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a lovely question of what sustains me over the 50 years, really, of practice. And the others have touched on that meditation is the bread and butter, is meditation, to sit into deep, deep silence and stillness, and the contemplation practices that the Buddhist tradition offers for insight, for awakening. And I take faith too in I take faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. I really take faith in the Buddha seeds of awakening that are within all of us and that are within me in this body, heart and mind, that I can awaken. And so those moments of reflection also open the heart, and taking faith in the Dharma teachings, the path, have a lot of deep, deep trust in the path itself. I've seen the fruits and tasted the fruits of that, that there is a release from suffering, a cessation of suffering. So, and the other thing that I take a lot of heart with is the Kalyanamita, spiritual friendship. I don't know how I would have managed some of the difficulties and the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations of my life without the Kalyanamita, spiritual friendship of like-minded souls in the Sangha, in the communities that I'm part of. And that has been an incredible resource and support for me at times when there's been, deep, deep pain and suffering too. Loss of relationships. 5 very, very close friends of mine died last year, including my sister. And the Dharma friendships and the depth of the Dharma and the insight that those women had was just powerful. Supporting them and as they supported each of us too in the way in which they died. The Dharma really came to the forefront. It really is an incredible gift to understand the Dharma teachings in those moments. So Buddha Dhamma Sangha is alive within me, and that sustains me. I also really relate to Ayya, what you said there. When I'm having difficulties and I'm in reactive mode rather than responsive mode, I really look into the hindrances in my mind. What are the hindrances that are operating right now that block the heart, the open way of embodied, have a commitment to embodied, awake presence, heartfulness, and what blocks that? What hinders the natural awakened expression of the heart, of love, compassion, joy, equanimity? And so that is my practice, attending to the hindrances. When they come up, I've got to explore and inquire deeply into that. So it's so much part of my practice, yeah.
I'm going to collapse a few of the questions. And I was actually, some of the questions I was going to ask relate to the next generation or the younger generation, because there are some younger female practitioners and teachers in the audience and who will listen to this recording who face barriers. I mean, there are still patriarchal barriers that we face, and there are often very sticky situations in various institutions and Buddhist organizations that are ongoing. And so I would love to know what your hopes and aspirations are for the next generation of female practitioners and teachers in Australia, and any words of wisdom or advice. So if you could reflect on your journey, what would you offer to those women listening? So anyone can go.
Okay, if there are any younger female who like to join the monastic order or become a lay teacher, I think we should really congratulate them and be very happy that we have got future generations coming into the Buddhist community. So there was once where I think that was in the early 2000s, around that time, and there was an incident in Singapore in one of our temples with Abbess Manko. And she actually, at that time, because Singapore, it's actually quite a traditional Buddhist community there. And the Chinese or the Mahayana monks or nuns, they do not put on the red ceremonial robes. So Abbess Manko was the first Buddhist nun to put on the red ceremonial robes to preside over a ceremony. So it got into the news, actually, the Buddhist community news that, oh, how can a nun wear the red robes? Then reporters came to her and asked her, what do you think of this? Why are you doing this? And she had some questions as she went to the Venerable Master. Venerable Master told her that in his eyes, in my eyes, I don't see a monk or a nun. I only see a Buddhist practitioner. So sometimes I think we are female, coming into the religion, practicing the religion. Physically, there is gender, but on this path of Buddhism, in practice, it is actually beyond gender. So if we were to keep thinking that I'm a female, this is what I can, what I can't, then we are actually adding barriers to ourselves. So sometimes as young female practitioners, whether it's lay practitioner or a monastic, have faith in ourselves. This is a path of liberation, a path of enlightenment, a path of service that we have chosen It will be a bright path ahead. There will be challenges, but it will be bright so long as we continue. Yeah.
Is it all right if I go next? I'm just, Nadine, I'm just under a little bit of time pressure here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Is that okay if I respond?
Yeah.
Thanks. In terms of really supporting younger teachers, I've really taken this very, very seriously as a responsibility. As now, in my 70s, as an elder teacher, as a senior guiding teacher in both traditions, take that responsibility of how to support and train and really support younger teachers younger people stepping into this pathway, teaching pathway. So that I did set up with my colleagues, the Institute, Insight Meditation Institute, that has these trainings, mindfulness, compassion, teacher training, but more importantly, leads into the 4 to 5 year Dharma teacher training, Insight Dharma teacher training. And there's a number of Zen practitioners, serious Zen practitioners here too. So we have a curriculum of study, teaching skills, personal inquiry, and each person is allocated a mentor with other senior teachers being their mentor. So it's a mentoring program as well. So that 4-year training has really been important in order to pave the way for new teachers, because I looked around at one stage and I thought, where are these? If there's not new teachers, then the Dharma will fade in terms of our tradition, yeah? in the Insight tradition or the Zen tradition. So it became very important to me to set up a whole curriculum of study and training, and I can honestly say it's an extraordinary privilege to be with long-term practitioners who, many of them 20, 30 years of practice, who are stepping into the Dharma, who are part of this training. I can honestly say it's one of the most powerful, beautiful experiences of my life. And it just touches me deeply to see the Dharma spreading in that way, deep, beautiful, liberating teachings of the Buddha Dharma. So I'm all encouraging of that in so many different ways, in each different tradition. I think we need to find our way to do that. How do we support new teachers? And it's interesting in the Insight tradition that there's actually more younger female teachers than there is men. And that balance is worldwide. That shift in the gender balance, if you like, in the States and England and across the globe, there's more, in the lay teachers that is, there's more female teachers than men now. Almost in the Zen tradition, there's more men. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that, that I think we do have that responsibility, basically, as senior teachers. I think we have that responsibility, how to support the younger generation to keep stepping up and showing up and speaking the Dharma. Yeah. Thank you.
I was thinking about your question and what I would say to someone who was wanting to ordain in our tradition is many people come read the Dharma and they are inspired by the teachings, and they just inspired by the monastic form, and they join the monastery quite starry-eyed with kind of incredible expectations that they're going to live with arahants. And one of I think the biggest challenges is building community, a group of usually strong-minded women having given up everything to with people who they usually from anywhere, any walk of life. It has been actually one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in female communities, in maybe male communities as well, is being able to grow a community. And so to expect that you're not going to be, sitting there quietly in your kuti, becoming enlightened, you're actually going to be living with other people with defilements. And to be willing to accept that as part of the path of growing, being willing to be a member of a community rather than a hermit, and putting your love and effort into building a community. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and to yes, to accept that.
Yeah, I think you're up against modern mindfulness and sorts of other individualistic ideas of the path. And so it's a bit of a perspective shift, isn't it? To think about the Dharma as, a communal venture, as you're referring to it. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I would now like to open the floor, and I know, Subhana, you need to leave exactly on time, so feel free to do that. But I'm sure some of you are wanting to ask questions of the panelists. So if you have a question, please unmute and let us know who you're directing the question at. That would be very helpful. there are no silly questions. All questions are very welcome, even biographical ones.
I have a question. For Subhana, you mentioned how Buddhism is genderless and universal. I just noticed in reading a lot of Buddhist magazines lately, there's people giving themselves a lot of labels, black or gay or, people of colour, and really identifying with different labels. I'm just wondering how this sits, if people say that they feel they're not part of a community and they're creating little subgroups, I guess, so they feel comfortable. How does that sit with this, genderless, universal view of Buddhism?
Beautiful question. Thank you, Lyndall. Of course, there is from the ultimate point of view of Buddha nature and the awakened heart-mind, it is beyond space and times, beyond description. It is nameless, formless, ageless, and timeless. So it is not just, it is in that sense gender-free. Yeah. And we're speaking about the awakened state of the heart-mind here. That doesn't deny, therefore, that there is also each of us there's a unique individual there as well. Every single person is utterly unique in this world. Every single blade of grass, every single snowflake. There is no two snowflakes that are alike. There's no two people that are alike either, really. No one will ever again have your face or your fingerprint, Lyndall. It's unrepeatable. Each person is unrepeatable in this universe of constant change. And so, on one level, on a relative level, it is important to have that sense of support of identification with a group. Yeah. And that is important to find like-minded companions along the way. The problem I see a lot of times is that people stop there. They have their little club or their little group, whether it's a sports group or kind of identity. There's an identity formation there, that I am a female, or I am gay, or I am, queer, or I am all of these different categories or groupings that we can associate with. The problem with identity is the moment you have a fixed sense of self, then there's a kind of in-group, out-group. There's self-other dichotomy. Then you have limited your sense of who you essentially are, because essential nature is beyond that little kind of identity group. So on one hand, it's supportive, but I think we need to go to a deeper level. Who are we really? Yeah, beyond identity politics, beyond identity formation. This is the Buddha's deep teachings of inquiry into the self-nature. Who are we really? Yeah. And to recognize our essential nature doesn't deny the multiplicity, doesn't deny the multiplicity of the world, but it recognizes the individual uniqueness of each thing and the universality, both. Yeah. But I think we get stuck with, there's a lot of identity, kind of my little grouping, where we can feel safe initially, but yes, does it condition then a them and us paradigm, then a them and us separation, which I think is this incredible polarization going on in the world right now, incredible division, and you get extremism and fundamentalism, and they feel like they're part of a group, that they're right and others are wrong. I mean, we've got to get beyond that. Otherwise, there's just endless kind of suffering from that place. That's my response.
Thanks, Subhana. Great answer.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, important question.
There's a question in the chat about renunciations. Jamie wanted to ask about renunciation because I know someone who decided to do that. How can I help her with that? So, is your friend really a friend? No, okay. Yeah.
Excuse me, I really need
Yes.
to leave now. Thank you so
Thank you,
much
Subhana.
for Nadine for hosting this, and thank you to the two venerables. Deep appreciation to everybody on the screen. Sending lots of love and compassion to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Subhana.
Very nice to meet you. Hopefully we meet again in real person. So I'll just say what happens at our monastery when someone first wants to come to ordain. You have to take it slowly. Usually people come and stay at our monastery for 3 months to begin with. Well, a couple of days to begin with, but once you've decided you want to explore this further, come and stay 3 months. Then they come and stay a year after that. So in our tradition, there's a process of how long you have to come and stay before you can ask for anagarika ordination, which is that you could you don't ordain fully, but you're sort of semi-ordained. You keep the 8 precepts, you shave your hair, and you wear a white robe, but you still handle money. And you haven't quite committed. You're just testing out the waters. Your job is usually to help the nuns with the things that they can't do. Like we don't handle money and we don't drive. So you do a lot of that. Yeah, if this friend of yours is interested, they can just come and stay at one of our monasteries in Perth or in Sydney, and then see if they like it, and then apply to stay for 3 months, and then if they like that, then apply for anagarika ordination, which is a year. So there's a process, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's a lovely answer. Thank you, Ayya. We have time for one more question because I think we're meant to be finished now, but this one is directed at Venerable Juefang, and the question is about traveling from east to west and back again, different cultures, adaptation of Buddhist communities to local situations. The question is, how do you, Venerable, navigate yourself amongst the diverse community, especially on what we should or should not do?
Thank you for this question. I think it's very sharp. All right. So I'm actually very grateful for the experiences, my life journey, because I was born in Singapore. I was there for 20 plus years until I graduated from university. Then I had my formative years as in the Buddhist college in Taiwan for Guangshan for stayed in Taiwan for 3 years. Did my master's there as well. Then I went to China in 2005, stayed there for 10 years and came to Australia 10 years. So it's like there was one day when I was back home in Singapore with my mum in a lift. And then there was this gentleman who came into the lift and he talked to me. He's a Singaporean. And he says that, I think you are not from Singapore. So I'm a Singaporean back in a lift with my mother, myself, and this gentleman. And this gentleman didn't say that, oh, you are a nun or you are a Buddhist, or he didn't ask me anything Dharma. He just commented that you are not from Singapore. So gradually I realized that my accent, my English is different from my brother, my Mandarin is different from my mom. Who am I? So when I'm in China, people would say that, oh, where are you from? In Australia, obviously, I'm not a local born Australian as well. So gradually, I'll realize that I'm just myself. So I bring in all the experiences within myself, is embodied to myself. It's like karma. So I'm a set of all these conditions, and that's me. But what is East and West? It's just culture, different habits, different conditions. The way this group of people speaks, the way this group of people think, express themselves, their focus. And West is just, I wouldn't say that it's opposite or it's different, but it's just different historical and social conditions that brought it. So it's just different language. Something is different. But culture is relative, values is actually universal. For example, irregardless of whether we are Buddhist or not, in both East and West, we want to be a good person. We hope that there is happiness in our lives. We want peace. There are certain values that is universal. So as a monastic, especially, I'm in the Foguangshan tradition, where Foguangshan community, where we have got we actually posted throughout the world with different branches of our temples. Sometimes it is not about East and West. It is just being there in that community. So if I'm posted, say the next day I'm going into another country, maybe a few years later you will see a different me. Right? So yeah, because life, it goes on. Buddhism believes in rebirth, reincarnation, life goes on and on and on. So in our journey, whether it's east or west, it just goes on and on. Just like driving, whether you drive on the left side or right side, the most important thing is that we are safe on the journey and the car moves forward. Yeah, that's what I've learned in the past few years. And I hope I'm still navigating well and safely going forward.
All right. Well, I think we have reached the end of our time together today. I just wanted to thank everyone who's come along to mark the occasion and to listen to these fascinating stories, very different, but also very similar in a lot of ways, I think. And thanking you all for being part of this community and celebration, and wishing you well for the week. And I hope to see you at next International Women's Day. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you to the speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.